Benjamin Franklin is one of the most famous men in American history. He is called a founding father of the United States. His name is known in schools across the country. Franklin's face is printed on the $100 bill, and many places are named after him. In the city of Philadelphia, there are bridges, museums, and statues honoring him. Most people in the United States think of him as a smart man who helped create the nation. His work and his ideas are celebrated everywhere in the country. However, Franklin's life was not perfect. Some of his actions were very different from the good image people know today. He was a complex person with good and bad traits. This chapter will explore how Franklin became such an important figure. It will also hint at why his life was full of stories, both inspiring and troubling. Franklin's story is about more than just success. It is about a man who made mistakes but left a lasting mark on the world. Benjamin Franklin was born on January 17, 1706, in Boston, Massachusetts. His father, Josiah, worked as a candle and soap maker. Benjamin's family was very large. His father had 16 children in total, 7 with his first wife in England, and 9 with his second wife in America. Raising such a large family was very hard. The family was poor, and Franklin had to stop going to school after only 2 years to help at his father's shop. Franklin worked for his father, but he did not enjoy it. At age 12, he was sent to work for his older brother, James, as an indentured servant. This meant that Franklin had to work without pay for many years to repay a debt. He lived with his brother, who ran a printing business. Franklin worked hard and learned the skills of printing. However, life was not easy for him. His brother was strict and often treated him unfairly. Young Benjamin tried to earn money by writing his own stories. He printed them and sold them in the streets. Unfortunately, he did not make enough to support himself. Franklin also faced personal problems. When he was 19, he wanted to marry a woman named Deborah Reed, but her father did not allow it. Deborah's family learned that Franklin was an indentured servant and decided he was not good enough for their daughter. This left Franklin disappointed. Deborah later married another man, John Rogers, but this ended badly. Rogers had lied about his life, and the marriage fell apart. He ran away, leaving her in debt. Franklin, meanwhile, had his own troubles. He had a child out of wedlock and struggled to take care of the baby while trying to rebuild his life. Despite all these challenges, Franklin never gave up. He kept learning, working, and planning for a better future. When Benjamin Franklin finished his time as an indentured servant, he wanted to start a printing business. He left Boston and moved to Philadelphia. Philadelphia was a busy city with many people and ideas. Franklin found work in printing and began to make connections with important people. In 1728, Franklin started his own newspaper called the Pennsylvania Gazette. It quickly became popular because of its interesting stories and strong opinions. Franklin joined a group called the Junto Club. This group talked about ideas and worked on projects to help the community. One of their projects was creating a public library where people could borrow books. Franklin often claimed he started the first library in the U.S. However, the truth is that the library idea came from the group. Franklin sometimes took more credit than he deserved for group projects. Franklin also published a book series called Poor Richard's Almanac, starting in 1733. It was full of advice, jokes, and useful information. The book became very popular and was printed every year. However, Franklin got the idea from another almanac published by the Leeds family. To compete with the Leeds family, Franklin spread rumors about them. He even said that one member was a devil worshiper, which ruined their reputation. Franklin's printing business helped him become successful and respected. He made enough money to work on other projects and explore his many interests. Even though he was not always honest, Franklin's skills as a printer and writer helped him shape his image as a leader and thinker. This success was the start of Franklin's journey to becoming one of the most famous people in American history. Benjamin Franklin is often remembered as a great inventor and scientist. Many stories about his discoveries have been told for years. One of the most famous stories is about Franklin discovering electricity with a kite and a key during a storm. However, many historians think this story is not true. Other scientists were studying electricity before Franklin. Franklin did do experiments with electricity, but he did not fully understand how it worked. He wrote that electricity was like a fluid, which is not correct. He also made public displays of his experiments, like shocking turkeys with electricity to entertain people. Even though he made mistakes, Franklin became famous for his work. People admired him for being curious and trying new ideas. Franklin is also credited with inventing many useful items. For example, he is said to have created the Franklin stove to heat homes better. He is also believed to have invented bifocal glasses, which help people see clearly at different distances. But research shows that Franklin may not have invented these items himself. He may have borrowed ideas from others or copied designs. Franklin never filed patents for his inventions, which means he did not claim legal ownership. He said he wanted to share his ideas freely with the world. Some think he avoided patents because he knew the ideas were not fully his own. Patents could lead to legal problems if challenged. Even so, Franklin became known as a creative thinker. His fame as an inventor added to his reputation as one of America's greatest minds. Benjamin Franklin's personal life was very complicated. He was in a long relationship with Deborah Reed, but they were never legally married. Deborah could not get a divorce from her first husband because he left without signing the papers. Instead, she and Franklin lived as a common-law couple. Together, they had 2 children, and Deborah helped raise Franklin's son, William, from another woman. Their family life was far from normal. Franklin had many relationships outside of his home life. Some of these were romantic affairs, which caused problems for his reputation. He was also accused of being part of a secret group in England called the Hellfire Club, where members met for strange activities. Historians say this club held meetings with parties and rituals. Some believe Franklin joined because of his friendships with powerful men in England. In 1998, workers found human bones in the basement of Franklin's old house in London. The discovery shocked historians and raised many questions. The bones belonged to at least 15 people, including children. Some were cut or drilled, making people think medical experiments were done there. One theory says the bones may have been from Franklin's friend, William Hewson, who studied blood and anatomy. But this is not proven. If Franklin knew about the bones, he could have been involved in grave robbing, which was illegal. Some believe he ignored what was happening. Despite these controversies, Franklin kept his image as a leader. People often overlooked these dark parts of his life. His ability to hide or explain his actions helped him keep his reputation as a wise and important figure. Benjamin Franklin spent his later years enjoying life and focusing on his health. However, his habits of eating and drinking too much caused health problems. Franklin developed gout, a condition that caused pain in his joints. He blamed his lifestyle, which included little exercise and too much rich food. Even as he grew weaker, Franklin continued to write, read, and meet with people. His curiosity and love of learning lasted until the end of his life. Franklin died on April 17, 1790, at the age of 84. He passed away in Philadelphia, surrounded by family and friends who cared for him deeply. More than 20,000 people came to his funeral. This showed how much he was respected and admired, both in the United States and in other countries. After his death, people began to celebrate Franklin as a symbol of American success and cleverness. Stories about him became larger than life. Many myths grew around Franklin's life. For example, some believed he was perfect or had invented many things by himself, though this was not true. Franklin's autobiography helped build his image. In it, he presented himself as a man who worked hard and became successful through effort. Americans began to see Franklin as a hero. Schools, libraries, and towns were named after him, and his face was put on the $100 bill. Today, Franklin's name is still widely known. His life shows both great achievements and serious flaws. He remains a figure of both inspiration and debate. Whether people love or criticize him, it is clear that Franklin changed the world around him. His ideas and actions had a lasting impact on history. Franklin's story reminds us that even great people can have weaknesses, but their influence can still be powerful and meaningful.